the underground machine. Ever wondered what it was like to be in Rome 2,000 years ago? So did I. I'm Valerio, and I started this channel to answer that question. I turn historical records into animations that make the past come alive again. Welcome, this is going to be good. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, it's on the channel. It tells the story of how a tyrant named Nero burned Rome down to build his own palace, and how that palace became the largest amphitheater on Earth. But if you have seen it, then you know exactly where to jump back in. 50,000 people packed into the stands, and something the crowd never saw happening, right under their feet. That's where our story picks up now. The audience saw the spectacle, but what they didn't see was the engineering that made it all possible, the behind-the-scenes prep that made it happen. It was hidden beneath the arena floor, a subterranean labyrinth, completely hidden from the 50,000 spectators above. Back in AD 80, during the inauguration, they sat there, unaware of the maze below. Originally, the hypogeum was built of wood, but when Emperor Domitian added a 4th tier in AD 82, he rebuilt it all in masonry. He replaced everything with a solid stone structure. The result was a network, with a broad central corridor, flanked by 14 side passages. The arena floor sat 6 meters. Above those tunnels, and within this maze, were machines, 28 freight elevators, scattered throughout the underground, all designed to lift caged animals straight up to the arena level. To run those 28 elevators simultaneously, it took 224 men, working in perfect sync. Plus, 20 moving platforms were used for scenery, hunting props, and execution scenes with trapdoors. On the arena floor that opened at just the right moment, men, animals, props, even whole set pieces appeared out of nowhere, like a special effect from the ancient world. This mechanism kept running for centuries. The use of these machines is documented until at least AD 523, the date of the last recorded event. At the Colosseum, that means more than 440 years of non-stop shows. The gladiators and the secret passageway. Gladiators didn't come into the arena through the main gates. They came up from below in the eastern section of the hypogeum that connected directly to the Ludus Magnus, the biggest gladiator school in Rome, through an underground corridor, completely hidden from the crowd. The training arena at Ludus Magnus was a scaled copy of the Colosseum's arena itself. The whole complex could house around 1,000 gladiators. Who were these men? Most were prisoners of war, enslaved or condemned to the arena after committing crimes, but some even volunteered. Men who saw in combat a chance at fame and money. Entry into this world usually happened around 17 or 18 years old, and few lived to see 30. There were at least 16 classes of gladiators, each with its own armor, weapons, and specific rules. And there's a detail most books skip over. There were women in the arena. The Colosseum's archaeological park confirms through literary sources and archaeological evidence that women fought as gladiators or hunters, even though they were rare. But the most intriguing secret wasn't the gladiator passageway. It was the passage of Commodus, a secret imperial tunnel linking the emperor's box directly to the outside world, completely hidden from the crowd. It wasn't in the original design. It was carved out between the end of the 1st century and the start of the 2nd century, so the emperor could slip in and out without ever being seen. 50,000 people watching the same show, and the most powerful man in the world slipping unseen among them. Meanwhile, 224 men were working below in the dark to make lions appear out of nowhere in the arena. Is that engineering or magic? Tell me in the comments. What shocked you most about the Colosseum's backstage? What did archaeologists discover in 2022? In January 2022, a team of archaeologists began clearing something that had been ignored for decades: the drains and sewers running under the Colosseum. For a year, they crawled through about 70 meters of underground galleries, and what they found rewrote some of the monument's history. First, bone fragments from bears and big cats, probably animals used in the Venations, the hunts that opened the days of games. Then there were coins. Over 50 bronze coins from the late Roman period, plus a silver coin from the reign of Marcus Aurelius, minted around AD 170 to 171. to celebrate his 10 years of rule. And then came the most human detail: seeds, fig, grape, and melon seeds, traces of olives and nuts. The leftovers of what people were eating while they watched the shows, tossed onto the floor, sliding down the drains, preserved for 2 millennia, inside the stone. The director of the Colosseum's archaeological park, Alfonsina Russo, said that these discoveries deepen our understanding of the experience and the habits of those who used to come here and the habits of those who came here during those long days of entertainment 2,000 years ago. Someone sat in those bleachers eating a fig while watching a lion being hunted in the arena. In 2022, an archaeologist found that very fig seed in the drain. The Colosseum is still being uncovered, but what happened to it? After the shows ended, that fig seed, preserved for 2,000 years in the Colosseum's drains, tells you just how much. History is still hidden beneath our feet. If you could choose a place on Earth to dig and uncover what's buried, which one would it be? Let me know in the comments. The fall of the monumental machine. No machine lasts forever. Well, this one didn't either. For over 400 years, the Colosseum ran non-stop. Shows, hunts, executions, even mock naval battles with gladiators, an engine. That kept Rome together and the emperor in power. But in the 5th century, something changed. Christianity had become the empire's dominant religion, and the church started looking at the games with growing disgust. The blood in the arena, which had been entertainment for centuries, came to be seen as barbaric. In 438 AD, the Emperor Valentinian III officially abolished the gladiator games. Silence began to settle over the arena. The last events recorded at the Colosseum took place in 523 AD. After that, the gates closed, the lifts stopped, and the greatest amphitheater ever built stood empty. So, what was the long, slow agony of this great monument? What happened in the decades and centuries that followed is almost as astonishing as its construction in the Middle Ages. The Colosseum became first a church, then a fortress, occupied by 2 of Rome's powerful families, the Frangipani and the Annibaldi, who used its walls as their defensive walls. Earthquakes in 1349, and in the years that followed, brought down entire sections of the building, and then came the worst part. For more than 1,000 years, the Colosseum was treated like a quarry. Its travertine walls were stripped and reused. In other buildings, the marble seating disappeared, and the metal clamps holding the stone blocks were removed, leaving behind holes still visible on the facade. Today, parts of that material were used in the construction of St. Peter's Basilica. By the 16th century, rare plants had taken over the interior. The Colosseum had become a garden of ruins, studied by botanists, not historians. But it never completely died. Its rescue, and what it represents today. In the 18th century, the popes began to see the Colosseum differently. As a symbol of Christian martyrdom, a cross was erected inside the arena, and its use as a quarry was banned in the 19th century during the Italian Risorgimento. The monument gained new meaning, becoming a symbol of national identity. Preservation began in earnest, with notable efforts led by Pius VIII. An extensive restoration was carried out in the 1990s. In 1980, the historic center of Rome, including the Colosseum, as one of its key monuments, was added to the World Heritage List by UNESCO, recognized as a witness to almost 3 millennia of history. Today, the Colosseum receives almost 7 million visitors a year and still guards secrets. Excavations in 2022 and 2023 on the south side tried to recover traces of the original floor, removing layers of modern pavement to get closer to what existed 2,000 years ago. In 2022, as you know, they found bones and coins, and seeds in the drains. Who knows what they'll uncover? On the next dig, the Colosseum survived. Nero, it survived earthquakes, it survived the Middle Ages and the plundering, it survived neglect and time, not because it's made of stone, but because each stone carries a story. That hasn't ended. You can visit the Colosseum today, snap a photo and leave, or you can look at those walls and realize you're standing before something that saw the birth and fall of empires and is still standing right beneath your feet. 2 meters below lie the corridors, where gladiators waited to enter the arena, and somewhere down in those drains there's probably still a fig seed no one has found. If you've made it this far, through part 2, it's definitely worth watching part 1, where you'll learn how Nero destroyed Rome, how Vespasian used the ruins of an empire to build the Colosseum, and the engineering that made it all work. The link is right here on the channel. The full story only makes sense with both parts. See you there.